Yo, I'm Brendan, and today the stock market just got twice as fast. This is a big deal for us because it removes risk for us as regular investors, and it could potentially even leave us with ways to make more money. Let's go. Because of this historic moment, I wanted to make a video documenting this and telling you what it means for you. This new rule is called T+1. Right now, we're in a T+2 trade cycle, and what that means is that the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission requires that companies take 2 business days to complete the trade that you've asked for. So as an example, let's say I wanted to buy a stock that builds axes. I tell my little stock brokerage app, hey, buy me some of these shares. Then I have to wait up to 2 whole business days for that trade to actually go through and settle. This settlement change is really what we're talking about now, because as of today, if I want to do that very same exact thing, and I said, hey, buy me 100 shares of this company that makes axes, now that settlement period is down to 1 business day. So I place the trade on a Monday, and I get everything settled in the account on Tuesday. But wait a minute, don't we get a confirmation in our investing service whenever they say, hey, your trade has been submitted? Especially something like Robinhood, it makes it seem like it's happening instantaneously. Well, the truth is, it doesn't happen instantaneously. They give us confirmation of the trade, and sometimes they'll even use kind of a debt system to span that gap between the date that we put the transaction in and it actually settles. But historically, the settling doesn't happen for like 2 business days. Think of settling as the actual transaction being totally complete on both sides. The buyer has what they've bought, the seller has what they've sold. And as investors, we're on both sides of those transactions. Whenever we sell an investment, we have to wait a couple days for that trade to go through, or whenever we're buying something, we have to wait a couple days for it to go through. And the transactions impacted by this include stocks, bonds, municipal securities, exchange-traded funds, certain mutual funds, and limited partnerships that trade on an exchange. So this is a lot of the core fundamental things that regular people like you and I actually invest with. So why did this change happen, and how could it potentially make us more money? Well, the reason why this change has happened is it's the continuation of changes that have been happening over time. Back in the day, the rule used to be T+5. So whenever you put in your transaction, businesses had 5 business days to complete that for you. So you had to wait basically a week for anything to happen. Then they moved it down from T5 to T3. Then we've been in this T2 system for quite a while now. You have 2 business days, and finally they've cut that in half again down to T+1. This is like saying we've been cooking with a stove our whole lives, and now we get to start cooking with a microwave. It's so much faster. Maybe that's a bad analogy because things you cook in the microwave always end up so strange. Like no one's making cookies in the microwave. They're not going to end up well. This system will be just as good in terms of trades, but it'll only take half as long. And the reason that that time limit has been cut down and down and down over time, and why we're down to just 1 business day, is because the more time that's in between your trading date and the actual settlement of that trade, the more risk there is, the more chances you have of things going wrong. Let's say you're trying to sell some of your investments because it's time for you to get out of them for whatever reason. There could be an issue on the buyer's side, and for whatever reason, maybe they don't have the money actually there and funded. You think you're putting this trade in, you're planning on this going through, and if they don't have the money there to essentially give you that for what you're trying to sell, the trade doesn't go through. Having a longer time horizon makes that more likely. There could also just be like basic accounting errors that happen in that transaction process that can make the trade not go through. In either case, that's called an FTD, a failure to deliver. And so that's one of the benefits that we're going to have with this new rule in place by cutting that timeline in half, is there should be less of a time period in there where we can find out there was an FTD. Having a shorter time period between the time that we place the trade and the trade actually going through means that that total number of FTDs should go down. All those verifications are going to have to happen faster. Everything will have to be checked sooner. And so the number of mistakes will go down. And if there is a mistake, we'll be notified sooner. And so this is just a win-win for us. But there's also a big win in terms of us potentially making more money from this. Normally, whenever we've placed a trade, we'll have to wait a couple of days, sometimes over the span of a weekend, to actually get our money. Yeah, I've sold my securities in theory. The transaction's happening. It's in the airwaves. All that's good because the process has started, but I don't actually have money to do something with. Now, because that process is down to 1 business day, I've got that money a whole business day sooner. So for us as investors, especially long-term investors, that means if you're selling one security, you can then have that money sooner to deploy into the next investment that you've been looking at a whole day sooner. Now, I'm not the day trading type. I'm not the person that's really looking at the markets hour by hour, but if you are, that can make a huge difference for you. And even for the average Joe, that means that our money is spending less time in limbo. It's spending less time in transit, and so we should be able to spend a little bit more time in the market. Okay, 1 day more in the market for every trade that we do for the rest of our lives probably won't amount to a huge amount more time invested, but it's still benefiting us. Lower risk, more time invested, everything here seems to be on the side of the retail investor. From everything I've read, it doesn't seem like there's a huge benefit here for brokers because they're the ones having to change all their systems to accept this new higher speed. And it's not like it's something that was rolled out overnight and all of a sudden everyone had to scramble and make this happen. This is something that they knew about for years, and so they've had to have that infrastructure put in place and being built for years up until today. May 28th, 2024, the day is here, T+1 is here. But as these things go, we don't know all the information. We don't know the whole backstory. So I'm guessing that there is some benefit to brokers here. Maybe they're expecting a quicker trading volume because of this, because instead of having to wait for 2 days for you to make your next trade, you only have to wait 1 day. So maybe you make more trades, maybe you make them more money that way. I just have a feeling that brokers aren't going to lose on this deal. If you're an investing company, there's no way this is going to create lower revenues for you. It's only going to benefit them. That infrastructure buildup will only somehow support them, give their executive team bigger bonuses, and everyone's going to win. But if that is the case, and if this does help both the regular investor like me and you, and if it helps the brokerage companies, why don't we make it even faster? We went from a T+2 to a T+1. Why don't we go to a T+0? Why don't we go to like instantaneous trades? It's 2024. We've got all the technology in the world. The crypto space already does this, so why can't the stock market do it too? Well, apparently crypto trades can happen instantaneously because of the way the blockchain is set up and because all crypto trades have to be pre-funded. I'm by no means a crypto expert, and so I'm reading you what I'm finding online, but I can't necessarily digest that for you anymore because I don't know what that means. I mean, a crypto trade being pre-funded makes sense to me, but maybe it's the fact that the blockchain is all electronic and there's not a whole bunch of old systems that have to be revised and brought up to speed like the stock market, that it can happen basically instantaneously. I don't know. Allegedly, the existing systems that are set up for us to invest in the stock market are inherently more complex and just slower than the crypto market is. And so to get all the way down to a T+0, i.e. an instantaneous trade and settling process, could be really difficult. And I don't know that we necessarily have to have that. Some people think that by doing that, you could involve other risks that we don't really have right now. And I don't know what those risks would be either. But somehow that might actually be a little too fast. So there are people out there that think that this is like just right. It's about as fast as you can get without creating any additional risk. But by going as fast as we have, we've decreased all those existing risks that we knew about before. And so hopefully this is that perfect middle ground that we've all wanted. We didn't know we wanted it. I didn't even have this on my radar, but it's newsworthy. It's happening today. The stock market just got twice as fast. Leave me a comment if you've ever noticed how long it took for your money to actually settle back into your account. Like if you've sold an investment and you've gone, wait a second, it's not there yet. And then you check the next day and it's still not there yet. And finally that what feels like the third day, you check it and you're like, oh, it is there finally. Now I have the money to do something with. If that's ever happened to you, then leave me a comment. Or if you don't want to comment, then you can just leave a little emoji of like an hourglass symbol to show me that you made it all the way to the end of the video. And you also felt that sting of the slow existing system. Now, should be a lot faster. Should be a proverbial microwave. We'll see. In the meantime, YouTube thinks that you might like to watch this video next, and I'm off to go out into the forest and try and find a nice dead tree that I can chop down because I brought my double bit axe up here, and all I've done so far is basically chop up some firewood, which is fun. It's fine. It's nice. But actually felling a tree is like a new level of satisfaction whenever you're an axe nerd like I am. So I'm gonna go try and find a way to do that. I'll see you guys later. Bye.